Hello everyone, and welcome to my very quick overview of the Mass Effect 1, the Legendary Edition. I love the fact that this game gives you a sense of the galaxy. So I'm in here in the solar system, and I back out to what is then considered the local cluster, and then from that I go then to the galaxy. So it's like that for most of the areas you go in. They vary depending on the planets and the solar systems and the planets, and I like that because it gives you the sense of the galaxy of what you're working in.
Just set me up.
I love this starting point. It's just small, it's not particularly amazing, but it shows you the character of what Tali'Zorah Nar-Raya is all about. I probably got that completely wrong. But it's just so good. It's just the way that they introduce characters into this game, and then how they do it in the next games as well, is just so good. And I'm working with aliens here. Again, I know it's a sci-fi game, right? It's not real, but it's the idea of what you're going to be doing with different species in this galaxy and the cooperation that goes with it. I've done this in a little bit of a slightly different order, but this guy is Garrus Vakarian. He is one of the most popular characters in this game, and for most men, he is like the bro. He's your go-to. Becomes like your second in command. And for the females, he is obviously, or normally, the romance option, and he's just such a great character all round. I also love this part in the game as well. You've moved on a little bit. You've got Garrus, you've got Tali, you've got Kaidan and Ashley as well, which are the other characters. And you start your mission now to go after the Prothean beacons, which is what they are, that Saren is going after, and Sovereign. And what I absolutely love is the cooperation, like in this section here. For me personally, there's a lot that's going on here. You've got those characters behind you that are willing to come with you. You've got Anderson here, who's giving up his ship. He's giving up his command of the most advanced ship the humans have for you to be able to complete your mission, because he realizes that this is more important than him keeping in charge. And that's why this is like a great starting point for this series, because of the way they introduce everything and how they build everything up for you to play and enjoy the story.
I couldn't make the cut. It's not something I'm proud of.
And this is where it gets more interesting. This guy essentially gets betrayed, which sets up the story, by this guy. And of course, you can tell just by looking at him, he's a bad guy. And the way that the developers set this up, I thought was still really good. I didn't appreciate it at the time when I first played this, but when I then played it a few years later, when I'm a bit more mature, I understood it more, and I absolutely loved it, because it's not exactly what you seem, and I'm about to explain in the next part as well.
I've got it under control.
So that guy Saren works for that thing there, and as you just heard, it's a ship. But it's not your typical kind of ship. I'll be coming back to this much later on in the video. And then we get to this part. And what happens here is that you go through the game trying to find out what Saren is trying to come after. And you get to this part here where I guess you could call her his lieutenant. And she's trying to use the Rachni, which is what that creature was in the tank, to create soldiers, basically, to help, obviously, for him to find the conduit. And one of the characters here is connected to Matriarch Benezia, and that's what I like about the fact that this game gives you so many choices, because I could bring her, and this interaction is completely different when you bring her versus when you don't bring her. It doesn't matter about the other companion, it's just obviously her, and that's what I like about this game, and what you'll see throughout the rest of the games as well, about choosing what crew members you bring with you. And this is what's really important about these games. And this is where we get to another critical part in the game, and we're still not quite near the end yet, but we're getting close. She basically explains, as Matriarch Benezia, what basically is going on with her and her indoctrination under Saren and Sovereign. Because what Saren doesn't realise is that he's being indoctrinated too. But that should become clear and obvious at this point, because if not, then I'm not sure what you're doing. But this is where obviously it gets more interesting, because then she ends up dying admitting that she realises there is this power over her, and she's part of a race that's extremely strong. okay? Like mentally, physically, you name it. And then you've got a big decision here. This decision comes back to you in the third game. I'm not going to say how or in what way, but it comes back to you. And that's why I've absolutely loved playing these games as much as I have, because there is always so much that goes on. The planning,
They made a mistake.
everything that happens within this game and this series, the BioWare have thought about it through and through. Their plan has always been to try and stick to everything that they've done and progress everything through this. And she here gives you, the Rachni Queen, which is in the box, she gives you a very, very compelling argument as to why she should be let to be lived. Because at the end of the day, she says that she's not going to harm anyone. She's learning that she needs to change what she does when she produces more young, basically, because they do it through genetics, right? And again, this is like the crazy awesomeness that is Mass Effect. So I chose here to let her live, because I trust in the fact that she's going to do what she says she's going to do, and she's not going to like try and take over the galaxy with her younglings, basically. And you see the effects of this, not in the second game, you see it in the third one, and it's just amazing because it calls back to this game and what you thought at that time, hopefully, if it's still fresh in your mind. And it's just so good. It's just so good. Just listen to this. So I'm going to be talking over this, but I just want you to listen to this first part, which is why I've stopped the music and why you'll just get the game.
You are not Saren.
What is that? Some kind of VI interface?
This is Sovereign.
Rudimentary creatures of blood and flesh.
That voice
You touch my mind.
is one of the most harrowing voices I've ever heard from any character, from a movie, a show, or a video
I don't think
game.
this is a VI.
And I cannot describe, as of yet anyway, until I figure out a way to do it, how good I think this really is, and why I think it's way up there with regards to character baddies. Because at the risk of naming another franchise that has like one of the best baddies ever, that has a rebreather who wears a dark outfit and stands at like 7 or 8 feet tall, this guy comes extremely close to that. And that's why for me I just enjoy the idea of progressing through the rest of these games anytime I go and play them. And I absolutely love what they've done with this, and I think it's just so good. It's just way up there. And that's why, again, I implore anyone to play this game, because of how good the story is. This is another one of those decisions that you make that will affect you throughout the games. It's not a major decision per se, but it does still affect you, and it's something else that I feel like you should know. So the reason why I mention that is because throughout the game you're given these decisions to make which affect your story, right? That's what this was based upon. It was to give you the options to make it your story. Now of course you're still limited, because at the end of the day the developers have to give you an end point, an end game to get to, that they have to be able to deliver on as well, not only for them completing the series but also completing the story for you. So in this game that's not obviously the case, but what you've made is decisions that will affect your game throughout the second and then obviously the third one when you get to it. And you get more of those decisions as you go through it, and that's another reason why I've enjoyed playing this game so much, because I've always seen it as it's about the journey. It's always about the journey, and getting to the end is hopefully something that's going to be rewarding and enjoyable, which I'll come to in later videos for each game and then overall. So I want to thank you for watching this today as well. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm going to try and make a long one of this actually, because there's more I want to talk about. So I want to thank you again, and I hope that you are looking forward to seeing the next one. All the best.